Here we are. Okay, very good. Wow. Let's see, is everything working here? I'm just going to see that I'm actually live. Okay, good, and there's audio. Perfect, it's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Just going to mute that and keep going. Okay, good. So here we are. Gee, Brain, what do you want to do tonight? The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. So the shirt once again, courtesy of Robert and Paula Harrison. Lovely. Okay, so there are a couple of comments. From the last few days, or when did I go live? I went live a couple of days ago. I don't even remember. Something like that. When was it? May 5th. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I should have queued it up before, but I just went live immediately. Hi there. 3 people are here. Hello. Rusty says, the same thing we do every night, Pinky. Correct. You are correct. All right, so let's start with XRP. I mentioned in the previous live stream that there's a lot going on and I'm just one man. You know, I have my life, my little, foolish life and my family, and I don't want to be immersed in the news and in the hasbara and in the... So there are some things that I'm staying willfully ignorant and blind about. And XRP says, or he commented, the wicked comes with excuses to remain blind, and his excuse is thrown unto the son and the newborn. Ah, boo-hoo, he says, I've been doing it since birth. He says, I've done it with a full-time job. I've accelerated it after October 7th. Licking your wounds, huh? He says. Please, brother. The kids are our kings and queens. Teach them the Torah, he says. Separate Zionist regime with my faith. So he said. Now I said, you can feel free to judge me, mock me, call me wicked, whatever does it for you. I said, I feel and I know that I am teaching my kids and have so since day one. And biblical and modern day Zionism alike have a place in my heart. Different, but they do have a place in my heart. And he answered just now, and he said, not mocking out of hate, I am mocking out of the world view on your position. It's not from my heart, he says. My heart loves you. My heart wants you and your family to remain safe. It's more of a brotherly smack upside the head. In our faith, we call out those who we feel are led astray, right? So he says it's a form of rebuke, which I'm willing to accept. He says this isn't my opinion only. This is becoming a global fact. As my brother, he says, do not indulge in the IDF's vision. You are not IDF anymore. Like I said, I was discharged a few years ago from reserve duty, but I would volunteer and go again if I'm needed. And may I not be needed. He says you're a father before you are anything else, and you're a good one, and you're a good one. Okay, and you're a good one. I know this for a fact because your boy is there, and God blessed you with another. 4 kids. Please, sir, he says, speak out for what's right. That's what the chosen people of God are meant to do. That is why we are Jews, he says. We are Jews by blood. We are Jews, and God chose us because we put God's values first. And God is our Father, and God taught us how to be fathers. May God guide us through these troubling times. Be safe, my favorite Nazarite, he said. So, as I said, if it's a rebuke, I'm willing to understand that. It's a rebuke. So, okay, I understand why he was called out to call me out. As for the IDF's vision, I don't know anything about an IDF vision. I know that there was a vision of sorts, secular and religious alike, when Zionism, the modern-day Zionism, reared its head towards the end of the 19th century. So you're a father before you are anything else. I, like so many others, wear a lot of different hats. I suppose that until I'm pushed into a corner, that's when we show our true colors, more often than not. I wouldn't want to be pushed or tested or I don't, or led into bad places. And you're a father before you're anything else. I mean, I don't know. I'm before I'm anything else is not exactly true. I was a soldier before I was a father. See what I'm saying? I was many things before. And like I said, I wear a lot of hats. We all do. And I know that there have been times where I did not serve, since there was something I had to be at home for. He says, please speak out for what's right. Now, I think that I do, and I understand that my understanding is limited. But I think in my own little stupid way, I do speak out for what's right. Now, I can be wrong, but when I do speak it, I am feeling I am speaking for what is right in in the frame that I'm, right, in the lens that I'm currently looking at and operating through, looking through and operating through. He says we are Jews by blood. We are Jews and God chose us because we put God's values first. Now, you don't have to be by blood, but I understand what you mean. And God is our Father. Well, again, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. And there is definitely a revelation of Father, a very high revelation called Abba. God taught us how to be fathers. I like the phrasing. Thanks for that. And yes, I agree. May God guide us all, fathers and non-fathers alike, through these troubling times. Be safe. He says, thank you. I will give that a heart and a like. I just saw it. I didn't simply leave it at that when I spoke of this. I said that I am trying to do my own thing, and in doing so, to expand the radius of my understanding, to deepen my knowledge, to heighten my consciousness and my awareness, and in doing so, to widen the circle, the radius of influence. But I gotta start very locally. I gotta start with me. I gotta start with my home. I can't fix the world. I can work on fixing myself. That's job one. Okay, let's go to the chat, see if there's anything there. Okay, Robert is here. Hey, Jack Bedusa is here. Rusty is also here. I think Rusty was there before. Shalom. Hi, Robert. Rusty says, you are a son before anything else, lol. Impossible to be a father first. See, that's what I'm saying. I think that he means when push comes to shove, what is it that you value, right? What is it that you value? And what do you prioritize? And in that sense, I understand what he's saying. I don't think he means chronologically. MP 2025 retracted a message. MP 2025, if you're here, I want to hear what you have to say, please. So let me know. Let's continue. XRP says, LMFAO. About the previous chat, he says he's disrespecting that person. I'm not sure what he's talking about. I just saw that. I'm seeing this comment right now. Well, I'll read it. I'm not sure what he's referring to. But okay, we'll see. If I'm really lost, then I'll just move on and I'll play that and then comment. But he says he's disrespecting that person. His son was groomed, huh? The grooming process proceeds into 7 minutes, or minute 7. May God bless your souls, brother, he says. Reality is tough when the grooming is done in lower frequency, survival, tribal barbarism. That's why God doesn't support the current state of Israel. You poor souls are suffering a hell right now. God placed you in a judgment, since birth possibly. I pray for your resurrection. I know myself as a father, he says. I struggle with what you're going through, Nazarite. I preach love, compassion, and truth. If a compromise can't be realized, and then if a compromise can't be realized in that, then it goes to God. I don't know what that if a compromise can't be realized in that, then it goes to God. Meaning realized in love, compassion, and truth, and then it's sort of, may God judge us all, he says. Okay, I guess I do need the context. I'm not sure what he was referring to. So I won't take a stab at it without knowing the context of what the comment was. But I tried. Forgive me. BMX says, what did you mean by trambapoline? So that's a Homer Simpson reference when they get a trampoline. Trambapoline! Okay. So the Lazarsker said, free Palestine. To which I replied, I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from terrorism and religious extremism. Thanks, the Lazarsker, for supporting Israel and the IDF. And then he says, you wish, but everybody know who is the real terrorist from Jewish extremism and Israel terrorism. And XRP said, no, the new phase is free Israel from the devil's favorite regime. See, this thing with people thinking that the state of Israel and the government are the devil's regime, the synagogue of Satan, I must say, I understand, I can see where they're coming from, well, based on history in the sense of how it's been for such a long time and the origins. And I'm not excusing Israel for the things that it did that are evil, that are wrong, that are reprehensible. But from that to synagogue of Satan is such a leap. Now, I'm biased. Obviously, I grew up here. I'm still here. I live here. It seems like a leap. And again, I can't have an objective eye. I seriously can't. So he says, boo, IDF illiterates can't read a Torah. Free Israel from IDF indoctrination on my Jews, XRP says. I don't know. It seemed that only when the state of Israel was established, when the modern day Zionism, took shape and form, and when people started to resettle the land, buy lands, and that the desolate, the desolation of Israel started to bloom again. For so many years and centuries, when there was all the fighting and the Crusades and the Arab conquests and the Ottoman Empire and then the Mandate, and people who came here and who wrote down their findings described this place to be very loosely populated and not in good shape. And if I'm not mistaken, even in the UN's partition plan, it was the Arab Muslims, right, who got the better share as far as fertile land, and that Israel got the bogs, the marshes. I might be mistaken. Or the desert. I might be mistaken, but I think that's what it was. Or more so than not. The point I'm trying to make is, maybe look, I grew up Orthodox, modern Orthodox, here in Jerusalem. I did serve in the IDF in mandatory and reserve service for many years. I'm not so big a fool to say, no, I'm not indoctrinated. There's a very good chance that I have been indoctrinated, and then I need to ask myself, which I did ask myself, what is it that I was indoctrinated with? Let's make an attempt. Many years ago I said this, to look at it more objectively, which is why I stopped keeping strict halacha, not just to give myself a break and, oh, okay, it's all good. No. It was it was soul-searching, it was a lengthy process. Years. As an example of one thing which I decided to take a step back from. It's also why I don't consider myself religious. I'm a simple Hebrew man, no more, no less. I don't consider myself religious for that reason. And the indoctrination that I went through, I'm thinking that all things considered, there's a reason why Israel is the booming economy and the, startup nation, all the different things that the Hebes and Jews have come up with, and pioneers in this and that. A nuclear power, perhaps, one of a handful of nations. Israel never publicly admitted this. Allegedly, right? A nuclear power. Not that Perhaps that's nothing to boast about, but it is an accomplishment, scientifically, right? The point I'm making is that there's a lot of good in this country. There's a lot of good in the people, and not just the Jews, Israelis from all the different sectors and sects. Israelis. Now, I understand that people equate Zionism, right, with that terrible nationalism and fascism and racism, and perhaps one would say I haven't seen enough, but from what I have seen with my own eyes, if there are instances of that, it doesn't speak of the whole. And, well, I'll leave it at that for now. I'm not walking blindly with the government. As I said, I haven't voted in 20 years, though I'm damn sure going to vote next time. Or almost 20 years. Part of the vow that I took, it's not an actual part of the vow integrally, but it is something that part of that lifelong thing that this Samson vow is because I told myself, okay, I'm going to go my way, my path. Is it dangerous? Yes. Is it risky? Yes. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. High risk, high reward. Because I couldn't simply go with the modern Orthodox religious narrative. Because of that, I had to look at things a bit more critically and see de facto, on the ground, what is it that's going on? What is it that I've experienced? I've always said, modern orthodoxy is my home. The Dati Le'umi, right, is the Tzionut HaDatit, that's my home. Religious Zionism is my home. Do I agree with all of it? No. Do I support all of it? No. But it nevertheless is my home. And I think that if I were to return to some sort of a more organized religious way of life, it would be going back to modern orthodoxy. But I don't know. I do not know. I'm making an attempt here, and I'm making mistakes. I do know that it was important for me to serve in the IDF. I don't regret doing it, not for a second. If I was indoctrinated, and I can tell you as a soldier who was there for a long time, I wasn't indoctrinated to hate or despise. I wasn't indoctrinated to be a force for wickedness, malevolence, harm, evil. Now I know the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but just from my own experience, right, as a field medic and an infirmary medic, I've treated Arabs and Jews, right, Muslims, Christians, and Druze, and I've treated Cherkessis, I've treated Palestinian security prisoners, it's like, specifically with my IDF indoctrination, it was do what you can to save lives. In the field, in the infirmary, give care to those who need it indiscriminately. It's part of the medic's oath. But I digress. I think Israel has a lot of trouble and problems. Some of them might be self-inflicted. History, right? Hindsight is 20/20. And still I have hope, a fool's hope. Let's be very clear. A fool's hope. That's what I have. Because judging as objectively as I can really do see why many consider Israel to be the Goliath and why people consider Israel to be evil, that synagogue of Satan, that, what did he say? The devil's favorite regime. And those religious folks who say that this state is, as you said, what is it, hated by God, is not supported, right? You said God does not support the state of Israel. Many people feel that way. I don't at this time. Many people feel that way, that from the get-go it was something that was based in secular, let's even keep it at that, as a secular democratic state and not a religious theocratic state. Or kingdom, I should say. And as such, from the onset, it does not merit any of the qualities and attributes that are given to the sovereignty that the people of Israel had at the times of the first and second temple. And it's not the same thing. People say it's the Aliyah was wrong and it should not have happened, and people are very anti-Israel. The religious people who are anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, I should say. It's difficult for me to wrap my head around it, because there is also the biblical aspect of Zionism, right? There's the modern day Zionism, and then there's the Mosaic Torah Zionism of, as I've said many times before, if you transgress, if you do wrong, you don't keep the Sabbath or the Sabbath of the land, you mistreat each other, you break the covenant stays. You will be kicked out, and you will be sold into slavery and bondage in foreign lands. And still, I will not annihilate you completely, people of Israel, and still there will be a handful of you, metaphorically speaking, to accept the covenant and return, make tshuva, keep Torah, get back to where you belong, spiritually, mentally, physically. And then you will come back to that land, that ancestral home. Now, I've mentioned in the past the dry bones vision in Ezekiel, how the bones are very dry, and will these bones live? The bones come together, and there's the flesh, right, and this sinew, and everything is good, but everything is ready, and these shells, these human shells, are standing, but the spirit is not in them. And then Ezekiel separately needs to call the spirit to enter these vessels. A great multitude of people started off as dry bones. We are now at the phase called dry bones, where there is the material vessel called the state of Israel. It's imperfect, it's weak, it's fallible, it's vulnerable, it makes mistakes. The spirit has not entered it fully yet, but the spirit needs a vessel to dwell in, much like that spirit or revelation dwelled in the tabernacle. In the very same way, there's this presence that is awaiting a readiness of sorts, whether through war or through peace, through hate or through love. It's gonna come. We have a job to do. And the Torah says, if you don't do your job, it will be forced on you, because this covenant is everlasting. This covenant does not go away. You may transgress, and you may go astray, and you may be kicked out, and all of that, and still this covenant remains. And so shall you, however few you might be. And eventually you'll find your way home. You'll find your way home back to Torah. You'll find your way home back to the ancestral home. And you will thrive and prosper, because this time you are choosing to do it. Because tshuva is the beginning and the end and the journey. Returning. So the indoctrination of the IDF, the government, the state of Israel, there's probably harm in it. However, it's based in this biblical Zionism. Not in the sense of we're doing it for God, conquer it, blah. No, that secular modern-day Zionism is very much based in, this is our ancestral home of Judea and the surrounding areas. Right? The kingdom of Judah, the kingdom of Israel, the 10 lost tribes. As biased as I am, I tried to take a look at things. And I arrived at the conclusion that, yes, maybe some things are wrong with the state, maybe some things are wrong with the government, maybe some things are wrong with our institutions and establishments, but do they merit, do they merit being torn down completely? Are we to be bereft of all of these institutions and establishments? And I said the only way that I can help create change is to do it from me, myself, and I. That's what I genuinely felt, and that's what I still feel. With all of its faults, I've seen the state of Israel and the IDF do very great things. Good things, kind things, compassionate things. Once again, it doesn't excuse the bad things. I'm just speaking from my own experience. Now, maybe I was an anomaly. Maybe. I doubt it. Israel has a lot to give to the world. It's not the sword. If it were up to us, it wouldn't be the sword, there would be peace. It would be more the book and less the sword. Israel eventually will make tshuva, whether through great distress and horrible tragedy or through understanding, bridging gaps, coming together, coming under that yoke of Torah and commandments, making tshuva, returning to who we really are, purely, simply, very, very plainly, the image of God, right? I mean, people at large, humanity, but the people of Israel have their own certain place in that image, in those 10 sfirot. I so want that to come about. I want to help in my own little stupid way bring that about, and that's part of why I'm doing this. IDF illiterates can't read a Torah? I disagree. I've been with many IDF soldiers who could read the Torah, but the Torah says you need an army. The Torah says you need to keep the covenant. The Torah says when you don't keep the covenant, there will be consequences, but the covenant remains, and so shall you. Okay, let's go back to the chat. I see Sneezer is here. Okay, wow. Okay, a lot of comments. Mr. Jew. Oh, wait. Robert says, how was your day? Was long, but productive. Herb Fenton. Hey, Herb Fenton, how you doing? Okay, wow, what a rant I went on, huh? Can we discuss? Says Mr. Jew. Missed you. Bet I'm too late. I'm not sure. Are you still here? Do share. Rusty says, every time I watch your channel, it seems that others think that they are better than you. These people remain hidden and don't have the balls to even do a live stream. I mean, for all I know, they do. And if people want to call me out for stuff, I'll entertain, and I'll indulge. And Rusty retracted a message, but okay. Mr. Jew says, can I ask you about that the Jews don't need Mashiach for us, but for the Gentiles? Need him and we be priests. Isaiah 60:61. Become priests. Okay, so Mashiach is literally anointed one, traditionally a priest, a prophet, or a king of Israel. So Mashiach is something that has to do with the kingdom and the king and the crown. And if you recall, Samuel said, rightly so, you don't need a king. Adonai is your king. Go with him. Follow him. No, we want a king. He says, okay, here's how it goes. This is the deal. So do we need Mashiach? No, we do not need an anointed king. Adonai is our king, right? The revelation of Malchut that's personified, let's say in David, is something that can come to the people and not necessarily one individual. The Sfirah of Malchut doesn't need to be consolidated, if you will, in that king on a throne. But seeing as how it is something that was done, and the rules do appear, part of the rules do appear in the Torah, right? Som tasim alecha melech. Is it an injunction? Is it a suggestion? As for the Jews becoming priests, there's this idea of the elevation, right? Where we have animal, vegetable, mineral, speaking, and some say Israel. I don't consider Israel to be above speaking, but something to do with 5, let's put it that way. Something to do with 5, with the 4-letter name and the tip of the yod. The idea of that elevation, if I'm hearing you correctly, that's what you're talking about, is that reality will be elevated when we partake of the fruit of the tree of life. And everything will be elevated, right? Let's say the mineral to animal, the mineral to vegetable, the vegetable to animal, the animal to speaking, back to Eden with a speaking serpent, and the speaking will be elevated to the next phase after partaking of the fruit of the tree of life, and possibly Israel will have some other thing in phase 2. So that's, I don't know what I'm not going to read Isaiah right now. That was just my own. Wait, Isaiah 60:61, is it chapter and verse? Or is it the 2 chapters? No, I doubt that chapter 60 has 61 verses. No, I don't think so. Let's just check quickly, I might be wrong. No, it has 22, and then, okay, right, so again, Kvod Adonai Alayich Zarach. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but as for Mashiach being for the Gentiles, I have no idea. I know that there are prophecies that say that, right, the Torah will come out of Yerushalayim, as it were, right? The kingdom will be reestablished, and then there will be a great rushing of the Gentiles to be closer to the Jews. But again, that's not a necessity. Is this live? Yes, it is. So he wrote this at 11:58 p.m., which was 15 minutes ago. I hope that he's still around. Why is he not replying? What country? Oh wait, why is he not replying? So I'm sorry, I'm going bit by bit with my ranting and raving in between. Robert says, what country hasn't done evil? Not excusing it. Yeah. Yup. Mr. Jew says, why can't you use the modern Orthodox? Why can't you use the modern Orthodox? I'm not sure what you mean by use the modern Orthodox, but I lived it. I lived as a modern Orthodox Jew in Yerushalayim for 25, 26 years, and then I decided, and it sort of coincided with the vow that I took at age 27. I had a few years right after the army, after mandatory service, of soul searching and of understanding where I am in the world, what it is that I want, what it is that I've experienced, what it is that I see going into the future, what are my values. And I decided organically, one could say, that I can't continue living the way that I was living. So, but like I said, it will always be my home. Otherwise, you're tohu. Well, let's put it this way. It's funny you should mention tohu. It's funny you should mention tohu. That idea of tohu and tikkun. Tohu, let's say, meaning wonderment or abyss, and tikkun being fixing or adorning, making right. I am very much tohu, and I pay a price for it. But I think that that this is the life for me right now, specifically with this Nazarite vow and things that came before it and things that came with it and because of it, perhaps. I see that my life has been showing me, creation has been showing me, right? My surroundings have been showing me that the things that I personally put at the top of that pyramid and those values, they are ways in which this particular tohu, this abyss that is Yonatan, can be made right, adorned, fixed, if you will, right? Can be led to tikkun. Tohu came before the tikkun. There was, and the Nazarite vow, right? It spans the entire thing from top to bottom, the entire tree of life, right down the middle. So, and I'm not sure if I'm making any sense right now. It is 12:15 a.m., so, it's after midnight. After midnight, we're gonna let it all hang out. Rusty says, Mr. Jew, he is speaking, that's why. He will read your waffles soon enough, so relax. Mr. Jew said, come back to us, achi, you now. Rusty, I'm a longtime friend, be nice or leave. Search your neshama, he says, search your soul. Herb says, teaching hate to school children does not promote peace. Well, I'll tell you, I was never, as a child, going to, let's say, religious schools, modern Orthodox religious schools here. I was never taught hate, but there definitely was an othering, if you will, of of Arabs and of, even in my experience, secular Jews. Not a conscious othering, perhaps. And no, you know what? It really was. It really was. There was a very conscious and very much aware othering that I experienced in school. One of the things I knew I wanted to leave behind, incidentally. Also, part of the reason, even though it's been many years since I've been in school, in grade school, primary school, whatever you want to call it, that's why I don't send my kids to religious schools. That's why I wanted the religious and spiritual education to be on my shoulders. Even if I screw it up, it'll be my screw up. Even if I do things that are not 100% okay, that's me, but they're getting it from me, and it was important to me, despite the risk. Again, high risk, high reward. Teaching hate to school children does not promote peace. I agree. Now, I was never taught hate, but there was a lot of othering, and I was taught peace. I was taught to promote peace. Now, I was taught this, but sometimes I didn't see it really meet me in the field, in the classroom and outside. It's like they told us to promote peace, but the emphasis was placed more on, well, halacha and less on peace. That was my experience, at least in grade school. High school was different. Butterkin 3000 says, if you were a dictator, what would you do to change the situation? I would hold democratic elections. That's job one. I would resign and ask, please don't hang me in the town square, and I would give it up for democratic elections. Or let's take it another way. If I were a dictator, then I would somehow appoint a king and anoint him. Well, I mean, I would not anoint him. Yeah, and then we'll see where we take it from there. I would unite the people under a king, or if not a king, if I were a dictator, I would unite the people simply by simply. I would unite the people by trying to do what I'm doing here. No more, no less. Robert says, thank you again for watching last vid. So yeah, Robert sent me a 20-minute debate in Jerusalem between a Messianic Jew and an Orthodox Jew. And I said, to their credit, it was civil and polite, and there was no a wagging of fingers, and it was, I mean, I knew the different claims that both of them were making. So there was no, it was just nice to see the exchange, the exchange between them. Sneezer is here. Shalom, everyone, he says. Shalom, Sneezer. Here he is. Noah Maren Tete, thoughts on the Epic of Gilgamesh. I don't even know if I read the whole thing, so I can't comment on it. I did read parts of it. I may have read the whole thing many years ago, so I can't comment on it. The one thing I do know is that there is a flood of sorts in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and some people say it corresponds with the story of Noah's flood, right? Noah's Ark, the flood and Noah's Ark. But I have no thoughts, unfortunately. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I read it, if indeed I ever read the entire thing. Sneezer says, yes, and the two Zionisms couldn't be more different. Yes, they are different, I agree, but they share a common root. They split up, right? But there's a common root. And what I'm aiming for on a personal level is going back to that root, which is why I can reconcile that biblical one and the modern day one with how I'm trying to live here in the state of Israel, where I was born, where I was raised, where I served. Sneezer, said Rusty, I was beginning to think you were not going to join the live. Noah says, bro's doing the sway. I swayed? I can sway. Literally every stream I joined, you're here arguing with HN. Hey, you know what? If I put myself out here and go live, it's inviting criticism before anything, I suppose. Even if I don't ask for it, it's inviting it by definition. It's like, here I am, judge me, look at me, blah. So obviously people will be here to argue and debate. And even though I'm not a fan of debating or arguing, I'm a fan of talking and conversing, exchanging ideas, preferably ideas that can then be taken and actually put into practice, right, in some way, to bring it down to the ground. So neither says, I merely have to see the announcement. YouTube notifications are slow for me. And he says, not arguing mostly to Rusty. We agree on most things. Yes. And if I lived in Jerusalem, I'd probably agree on all, LOL. Who knows? The city, I've been told from people who made Aliyah and who come here, I mean, I know it's something special, but some people come here and, right, Jerusalem syndrome, and it's, yeah, I've seen some people experience really raw emotions, right, around the old city and the Western Wall and the Temple Mount. Nothing's stopping you, he says, Rusty told him. Living in Jerusalem? Well, for one, I like trees and fresh water. Well, good. I mean, we do have trees and fresh water, but it's probably not as fresh as you would like. You never heard of the Jerusalem forest? Indeed, Yar Yerushalayim, Yar Ben Shemen, Park Canada, a lot of nice places just outside of Jerusalem. There are also trees in the city limits. Yes, there's plenty of greenery. There are plenty of different wadis as well, and places that still have gazelles. No, what is it, like 20 olive trees? No, it's not 20 olive trees. A virtual plethora of riches, said Sneezer. It's not 20 olive trees, but there are a lot of olive trees in Jerusalem. Jerusalem forest is over 125 hectares, right, or dunam. Right, wait, is a hectare a dunam or is an acre a dunam? I don't know. Are acres, dunams, and hectares the same thing in different languages? Or is it different measurements? That's nice, he says. Indeed, it is nice. Butterkin 3000 says the US is a much better home for Israeli people, in my opinion. Well, it can be a better home, but it's not your home in the ancestral sense. Of course, people have lived there for generations, and my folks came from there. And I'm an American citizen living abroad, foreign born. It's where the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum is, Rusty says. Right, Jerusalem Forest. What a place that is, Yad Vashem. Oh, wow. Sneezer says Canada has more unused space, but... Canada has more unused space. Yeah, you wanna... Well, what did Al Bundy say? Right, women. Can't live with them, can't herd them all into Canada. Oh, whoops. Where was I? The chat just jumped. Okay, here we are. Rusty says the Garden of Gethsemane is the one with olive trees. Gethsemane? I don't know what that is, but okay. The soil is not what makes it what it is the people. I agree, right? Like Asgard, it is not a place, it's a people. And I've said before, if we had actual ironclad guarantees, I would relocate with all of my family and the people of Israel to some other place and be left alone in peace. But that's not the case. Robert says, my feet might humbly touch Israeli soil. That would be very cool. I'd love to sit and have, like I said, a cup of tea with you. Oddly, I can't get viewers to come for live streams, Sneezer says. Well, maybe it takes time. I don't know. I mean, obviously things take time. Rusty retracted because I got fat fingers and type like a simpleton. Hey, we have that in common. I don't have fat fingers, and I also type like a simpleton. Did you read last chat? Oh, that's right. I wanted to read the chat that I didn't get to. Should I go do that right now? Should I go do that now? I said that I would. Yes, I'm gonna go. Whoops, earbud fell out. All right, you know what? I'm gonna stop here and go to the chat from last week's, from 2 days ago, a few days ago, whenever it was. I'm just gonna punch it up here and go to the end. Show chat replay. Do you like the play-by-play that I'm giving you here? I hope you appreciate it. Incidentally, while I look for where I was, I'll say thank you to all of you here, those watching now, those watching later. I appreciate your time, your kind attention. I don't take it for granted. You know, I click go live, and there are people here, and there's a conversation here, and there's an exchange of ideas here. There's rebuking here. There's banter and humor. And talk of everything from regimes to, you know, to orthodoxy and everything in betweens. Okay, so here we are at the chat. I don't know where I was, but I must have not, where was I? I'm trying to catch something that I said, perhaps, in the chat. Oh man, I missed a ton. Okay, here. This I remember seeing. So we're going to take it from here. Okay. Okay, so Sneezer said, the place the thing... Wait. The place the thing created belongs? No, I'm not going to go with that. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Seek Truth said, Shalom from Oklahoma. Sneezer said, God is one, and every description incomplete. That is correct. It's a oneness. It's what we call in Hebrew, Echad Yachid Umeyuchad, meaning one, but not one as in 1, 2, 3, right? One, singular and unique in the sense that that's what we are aiming for, right? With our prayers, with our different things. The mind might be going, depending on where you are, you know, looking for this or that, or simply in the literal meaning of the words, but that idea of Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, right? That there is oneness. And every description will be incomplete because we cannot perceive God. We can just perceive revelations, right? What did God tell Moses? Lo yirani ha'adam v'chai, a man cannot see me and live. So every description incomplete, much like eternity, right? Which is why God is called in the Kabbalistic literature, Hasidic literature, Ein Sof, infinity, or without end, or unending, or no end. Just bigger, and there are many eternities, LOL. Yes, it's something that's outside of the scope. We as finite beings can't truly perceive and comprehend the comprehend the infinite, and there are, or the eternal, but we have ways of making connections, and we have moments where we can feel those connections take, you know, shape and form inside of us, in our conduct, on our tongue, and what we're feeling and what we're doing, when we're studying, when we're praying, when we're meditating, when we're in hitbodedut, whatever the case may be. And then there's that elevation, however brief, and some people can stretch it out for a lifetime, of perceiving and acting in those eternities, right? In those higher realms, those higher sfirot, those spiritual worlds that correspond with this lower one, if you will. Right? There's no high-low. It's just something so we can grasp it. In the worst eternities, all life only wants to end. Well, in Torah, life wants to truly begin. We have not partaken of the fruit of the tree of life yet. We have not truly begun to live yet. We need to get back to Eden. We need to get that Edenic Sabbath and partake of the fruit. And then, you know, phase 2. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I don't know what it'll be, but hopefully we'll be there for it. But we can't until we make peace, said Sneezer. Yes, peace is such a blessing, and it holds many blessings, and I pray for peace. Ay, ay, ay. Go Dogs, said Moses. Yes, people say I look like Jesus, people say I look like Moses, people say I look like Bob Marley, people say I look like so many different things. Sneezer says, I think righteous needs personal definition, maybe kingly. XRP says, Nazarite, I'll be leaving the chat soon. Bless you and your kin. If I am not here to farewell, here it is. I appreciate your channel. He said, be well, bro. I love you. Thank you. That's nice. It's nice to receive love and good vibes. And back to you. I don't know you, but there is love there until you do, until it would be, God forbid, taken away. Love can cover all wrongdoings, for better or worse. Let's continue. All right, so Ariel Marshall and Seek Truth were talking about Oklahoma because they're both from there. Robert says, he asks, how's Sean Hurwitz been? My brother, the elder one. He is doing well, as far as I know. Spoke to him last week before Shabbat, and as far as I know, he's doing well, working hard, and hopefully chilling out as well. He's always got something up his sleeve, my brother. Sneezer says he's also working on something that will be able to take him past the music and music-related career and the different real estate deals that he has going on. He wants something else, so he's working on that. He's trying to figure out how he can widen his understanding of his life and choose something to go with for later on in life. And where do we go, right? Where does he go from here? He's just a few years older than me. Sunitha says, eventually, maybe those Hebrew words will seep into my subconscious. Keep going. Right, I guess I threw out some Hebrew words there at the time. It obviously worked with words like ruach. Hey, look at that, I taught you ruach. That's nice. Ruach is spirit or wind. Sneezer says, wow, he's like 2 hours behind now. Yes, there was a lot of chat. There was a ton of chat going on, and I'm glad that you reminded me to read it now. Seek Truth says, recently I learned the word for darkness that was used in Genesis 1 for the creation is also the same word used again in Egypt with the darkness that fell upon it. Very interesting word. Yes, choshech, chet shin chaf sofit, the final chaf. Choshech al pnei tehom. And yeah, Makat Choshech, the plague of darkness. Sneezer says, many paths have walls, lol. Some you can go through, others around. I agree. I agree. He says the truth would make a Jew in Israel go insane, realizing you killed God. Well, once again, wasn't it the Romans who killed him? But yes, there are those who say that right, I mean, it wasn't the Sanhedrin, if I'm not mistaken. I had this conversation with someone in the chat just, a few weeks ago, that it was the mob, right, who chose the thief, not the thief, who chose, it was a thief and not Yeshua to free. Because it was Passover, right, and Pontius wanted to do a gesture, and so choose one of them to set free, am I right? It was part of the plan, he says, killing God. See, I don't consider Yeshua to be God incarnate. You do. Not that it would be okay under some certain circumstances, and most perhaps, to give your brother, right, to be killed by the authorities, by the foreign authorities. I don't think that's necessarily good either. Things that have to do with life and death, right, with dinei nefashot as it's known, are so particular and so unique. It goes on a case-by-case basis. And if the Sanhedrin obviously did everything it could to get people out of the death penalty, and once again, a Sanhedrin that would do it, they say once every 7 or 70 years would be considered fatal. It's like the Sanhedrin did everything in their power to not have people be guilty of something that would necessitate the death penalty and murder, and things like murder and things like giving one of your kin to be murdered. That would be a very unique and specific case. I can't make a general assumption. I am not a ruler of halacha. So you killed God? No. You can make the argument that, according to you, yes. According to the Torah that I know, no, we did not kill God. Maybe the people did something wrong, the Sanhedrin and the mob, and giving Yeshua to the Romans to be crucified and put to death was a horrible thing that should not have happened. As I'm very fond of saying, it could very well be that if I was around at the time, I would have followed him around Jerusalem, possibly other places too. And so maybe I would maybe I would say that that was a wrong thing, and I would want those who did that to be brought to justice themselves. But it's a very big leap from human to God, and the Torah does not uh, allow the Hebrew man or woman to take that leap, right? God is always incorporeal, non-corporeal, whatever it is, not in a body. Craig is here. Wow, hello, Craig. Look at that. Oh, he's not here now. I'm reading the chat from a few days ago. My bad. Well, Craig, thank you for joining me at the time. That was fun. I hope maybe he joins again sometime soon. Oh, wait. Oh. Skip to a different video, and now I need to go back. But I know where I was, so this won't be, it won't be terrible. It won't be terrible. I know where I was. I'll get to it right now. No, you know what? I'll take this opportunity to queue it up here, and then I'll go to the chat, the live chat, and see where I'm at over there. Okay, I'll continue. Wait. Yes, good. I will continue the chat. Hold up. The live chat replay. Okay, live chat, here we go. So let's continue. Should I skip to the end? No, I won't skip to the end. We see you, Butter. Right now. No, you're not being shadow banned. I see you. It's just taking me a very long time. God is not a king. God is a God. Yes, that's right. But even the word God, Elohim, is a certain divine attribute. El is a certain divine attribute. Yod He Vav He is a certain divine attribute. Melech, king, is a certain divine attribute. So those are all revelations. It's not God. It's revelations of God. God made everyone, not one group above others. Yes, I'm inclined to agree. In Eden, there were no groups. So I don't think Israel will be above. I think that even if you can make the claim that Israel will pioneer this great movement back to Eden, let's say, by its own merit, I hope, and not through war and destruction, even so, we're humanity, brothers and sisters in humanity. And once we get world peace, right, and global understanding, however it may come into being, once we have that, there won't be any need for Jews and Gentiles, right? Much like there wasn't a need in Eden for Jews and Gentiles. We were just people. I see you, but he's a little behind right now. Yes, and that was a half hour ago, so I'm really behind. I've been on for almost an hour. No worries, Rusty. I got fat fingers too, said Sneezer. So Sneezer says, a prophet also says a new covenant will be written to people's hearts. Yes, and Moses says that as well, right? In the Torah. I mean, Moses says it. It's like that idea of we have a stiff heart and a stiff neck. And it can be a positive and it can be a negative. And eventually, our stiff neck will no longer be hard. Our heart will be not of stone, but of flesh. Yes, we are very much incomplete, the Hebrew people. Very much incomplete. We have not yet carried out our job in fullness. We still have a task to perform, to do, to get done. There's many things on our to-do list, and we are stumbling towards our destiny, let's say, as Hebrew people, and the fulfillment of our position, our role, our job here in this world. We're stumbling, we're making many mistakes, but nevertheless, what is guiding us is that truth, is something that, is that covenant, let's say, you know? So you can make all the arguments against it. I do believe that there will be a new covenant, and that the heart will change, just like it says in the Torah, right? And then once you really truly accept responsibility, and you're able to be that image of God insofar as the children of Israel are, in the place that's set out for them, then yeah, it will be written on our necks and on our hearts. It's true. Sneezer says, we are all guilty, which is why we need Jesus to forgive us. Sins of the father's father, etc. Well, that idea of sins of the father, there are ways in which, well, let's put it this way. It says in the Torah that up to 4 generations, up to 4 generations, if they do continue to act in the same way and they hold to the same views and behaviors of their fathers, if they screw up like their fathers did before them, if they don't break the cycle, then yes, there will be continuation there. That's the commentary. And it's juxtaposed, or the verse, the continuing there, right? Kindness is for 1,000 generations, right? And that sins of the father is for 4 generations. It's it's there to show you that it's not about one that cancels out the other. It's a whole different ball game. Something like that. Now, as for needing Jesus to forgive us, Christians and followers of Yeshua say that he was that Lamb of God and that in his blood the world was saved. And if you make a connection with him, then you will be saved. You need to let Jesus into your heart, and then God's grace will shine upon you, and your sins will be forgiven. Right? You'll be wiped clean, and you can be reborn. So that's not something that's very much in the spirit of the Torah. Because while the Torah says, yes, there's ritual worship, it's not about human sacrifice. The human sacrifice is Torah and commandments and keeping to the covenant. That's where you make your sacrifice. To give a life in the way that it went down according to the New Testament, that's not something, I believe, that one needs to give his life for, halachically speaking. Now, to need Jesus to forgive us, if I understand it correctly, it means that only through him is there kindness and grace and forgiveness and atonement and right? You reach the Father only through the Son, right? Something like that, where he is the gatekeeper. He is the judge, he is the ideal, but he is also loving and forgiving, and he will bring you into the fold and into the flock if only you will submit and give yourself over to Jesus. I've been told that I should do this. I've been told how to do this. I've been told, everything and anything to do with it. I'm sure I haven't heard a few things, and I'm not saying I've heard it all, but I've heard it many times. To which I say, cool, that's fine. Should that happen? I don't see it happening, but should that happen, I'll get back to you. I haven't accepted Jesus yet, because to me he is simply a dead man, no more, no less. He will be resurrected with the rest of us, right? Let's say, after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life. And there are a couple of instances of resurrection in the prophets, but basically, I stick to the Torah, and the prophets are there to point back to the Torah. And in the Torah, we have that idea of life and death, and of choosing life and not death. We have that idea of not going and seeking counsel from the dead, which is why what Shaul did with the Baalat Ov when he summoned Shmuel, he was like, why did you do this? Why did you anger me now by summoning me in this fashion? Because we are supposed to be focused on the living. And it means that, yes, we can follow the teachings of the dead, but not follow the dead. They are not alive. As soon as they have left this life, they no longer have any say on keeping the commandments. And by say, I mean they can't. They can't. They can no longer sing praise, right? Lo hametim hallelujah. The dead will not praise Yah. Velo kol yodei duma. And not those who go down to Duma. Duma is the name of one of the, let's say, middle managers of one of the halls in the lower realm, if you will. And we have our time here and now in this world while we still walk and talk and draw breath to do what's right. And when I say right, it's like an absolute, and I'm not a person of absolutes, but I say do right, it's like, yeah, by your own definition, do your own research, don't go with what I say, blah, 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 blah. So according to the Torah, we don't need Jesus to forgive us. Whenever there is something to do with, let's say, the priests and there's atonement there, it says that the priests act in certain ways, and atonement and grace and tshuva is made manifest in the individual. Can it be done without the ritual worship? Yes. Can it be done without a priestly tribe and people? Yes. But with the throughout the course of ancient history, much like it was animal sacrifice that replaced human sacrifice, in the future, going forward, the animal sacrifice itself will also be abolished. And if we will have ritual worship, I hope and pray it will be a vegan one, like it says in Hosea, right? That the mincha, the vegetarian offering of Judah and Jerusalem, will be accepted and it will be savored. Guilty of what, says Rusty, do not judge me. Their sins, not my sins. Sneezer says to him, I judge you not. He says Jesus died to end sins of the father inheritance. See, that's exactly my point. Each and every one of us can break that cycle. Even if we do have baggage that we are carrying, we, with our determination, with our discipline, with our striving, with our seeking, with our undertaking, with responsibility and accountability and all that good stuff, we can make it so even those sins of the father become merits. And our sins and our transgressions become merits. We break the cycle, we make tshuva, and we are able to retroactively do many things, let's say. You shouldn't live for the past. It's simply a secondary thing that happens with you going back to yourself and manifesting it in the world. There are things that are sort of fixed retroactively. And just because it says that the sins of the father will be on the kids, it doesn't mean it will be so. It means it depends on you, the kid. What kind of father will you be? What kind of sins and transgressions will you be able to overcome? It's like, look into yourself. See what it's about for you. He died, says Rusty. Sure he did. He died because he was seen as a threat to Pontius. Simple as that, to be honest. Could be that's also why they hung that sign that said King of the Jews. As far as I know, he was never publicly anointed, right? He was never made king, but I guess the Romans considered him to be the king. Also, all other blood sacrifices. So yes, there is something to that. You end the blood sacrifices and you elevate yourself to a vegetarian ritual worship. Something like that, yes. Sneezer says, no, Pontius didn't want to kill him, was forced by the rabble, the Jews, the mob. 40 years later, they all died. Yep. Then Rome. Ay, Rome. I always say, right? I always say this, but Monty Python and the Life of Brian. What have the Romans done for us? Yeah. Abigail, King David's wife, Robert says, seems like a total babe. Yes, she does. She seems like she is not afraid to make things happen. Rusty says, nobody can force the governor to do that. He did it because of fear. The governor, oh, I see, you're talking about Pontius. I wouldn't know. Sheep run by wolves as today, said Sneezer. Run by wolves. There's so much going on behind the scenes. Once again, I can't hope to even know the hide nor hair of it. I can't. I don't have the security clearance for one. So many things going on behind the scenes. And from what I've been told, Israel has operatives, inside and outside of Israel, silent and other, silent and loud. That's not the opposite, but you know what I mean. And it's like, let's grant that proposition and say that it is sheep run by wolves. That's part. I subscribe not fully to that, but that's part of why I haven't been voting for the last 2 decades. I was like, no, I can't vote for this. I can't vote. The system itself, the people it produces, the leaders that it has been producing of late, I said, something there is amiss, and I can't play my part, and I can't exercise my democratic and civic duty by participating in the elections. I can't. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Politics I've always considered to be a very dirty, dirty game. So dirty that those who come in with a clear conscience and a can-do attitude, by the time they reach the high-ranking positions, by the time they reach points of power, let's say, influence, then it's not their competence which is guiding them. Then it's not their desire and will to do good. No, then it's the shady deal, and you rub my back, I'll rub yours. That's simply what I saw. But again, in my own narrow and unsophisticated view. So let's say that it's sheep run by wolves. What can I do? Can I myself go and attack the wolves? I don't think so. I'm simply trying not to be too blind of a sheep. And I don't deny that there are parts of my life in which case I might be a sheeple, as they say. But I try to think for myself. I try to be critical of myself, first and foremost, and of things that I hear from the state and the government, news outlets, and so on. So yes, I'm a sheep, granted. I'm not a wolf. I might be a little wolfish at times, but by and large, I am but a sheep. I'm trying to figure things out because I don't know if I can fully trust the shepherd. Right? What if the shepherd is a wolf? I can only do what I have here in front of me in my day-to-day life. And in my day-to-day life, I try to have the Torah be my guide. And I try to operate within the laws of the state of Israel, and I try to not be conspicuous despite the hair. Just trying to live life rather privately, really, but not very privately, obviously, I'm doing this. But it's like this sheep, maybe very egocentrically so, wants to focus on me, myself, and I, and the family. And as far as I'm concerned, the time that I had to serve the community, at least, I did it with mandatory and reserve service. I went every year. And it's not like, okay, so that's it. I do want to give back more, but I also want to put my family first right now. And I'm not sure if that's an excuse or a valid reason. I just know that that's what I want. That's what my heart tells me in the positive sense of the word. Sheep run by wolves, as today. I hope that if the state of Israel is run by wolves, that they will be able to, by the grace of God, a channel of divine revelation will open up, and they will be able to do good and not bad, and help the sheep, right? And be elevated, right, from carnivore to vegetarian, just like reality will be elevated. May the wolves be elevated. When we have good leadership that we can trust and have faith in, the people of Israel, there's nothing we can't achieve. People are so torn so much, and before this war broke out 18 or so months ago, it was like a year of constant protests and demonstrations, and the people so divided, and it's like man, it's like you can't run away from it. This place is so screwed up sometimes, so screwed up. But still, like I said, there's a fool's hope because I see so much good here in the people here, and what we're trying to achieve here together. There's a fool's hope to this place and this state and this establishment, but it's there, stubborn and asinine maybe as it is. It's still there, and I hold it. It's near and dear to me, this fool's hope. It is. Israel has a lot to give to the world in the positive, and I think it's demonstrated that, right? Good things came out of Israel. Good things came out of the Jewish mind here in this startup nation. Not only, of course, there are many Israelis who are not Jews, and so on and so forth. We want to live in peace. We want to have that option. The people who signed the Declaration of Independence, the Scroll of Independence, they said, we are reaching out to our neighbors in peace. Now, people who are anti-Israel and anti-Zionist and all that, they say that's laughable. They're saying that they're holding a scroll of independence in one hand and a bloody knife in the other. It's like, come on, who are you bullshitting? You're aggressors and attackers and white colonial oppressors and so on and so forth, genocide. So now you're gonna cite the scroll of independence and say, and the Nakba and all that, and you say you desire peace? They'd say that's complete BS. So I wasn't there in 1947, 1948. I've been alive for just, I'm in my early 40s. I've seen times of war. I've seen times of relative peace. I've seen times where hope was taking taking shape and form with Oslo, and that went to hell very soon. But for those few months, it felt so good. The one time I felt real hope for peace take shape. It was awesome. I hope I'll feel that again, and I hope this time we will have peace. And if Israel needs to end the war on its own terms in order to dictate the peace, then it will do so. And I hope that all the innocent people, and there are innocent people on both sides, I hope that they will be able to somehow survive and thrive, and we'll enjoy this future together, de-radicalized and side by side or integrated, I don't know what, but living together in peace. Oh my God. Oy. Sheep run by wolves. In my sheepy life, I'm trying to do some good. Am I succeeding? Am I not? Am I being stupid? Yes, all of the above. Robert says, any little breakthrough can give us with the little guy. Well, he should be turning over pretty soon. He did it once or twice, and it should be happening more frequently. And like I told BMXers, and what I said in the stream a week or two ago, that now that he's passed the first 3 months, now there's the next phase. There's the next phase of babyhood. I'm here for it. Thank God I'm here for it. Rusty says, fear of political unrest, the pressure of the Jewish religious leaders, and his own perceived need to maintain order. Maintaining order being the number one reason he did it. So Pontius did it for fear of unrest, the pressure, and he wanted to maintain order. It makes sense that that's why he would do it. I don't think he had any kind of special hate or animosity towards Jesus. At least not according to the story, right? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. There's probably an exchange between him and Jesus that I'm forgetting because I only read the New Testament once. Sennheiser says to Rusty, ultimately Jesus died because that was always the plan. Well, sure, everything that lives dies. Almost. We needed an example, said Sneezer, but an example in the garden would have proven fruitless. An example in the garden would have proven fruitless? Well, I'm sure you phrased it that way for a reason. I didn't say it's an example in the garden. This doesn't mean that there can't be people who truly personify that image of God in near fullness, almost in absolute, but they still wouldn't be God incarnate. That is a no-no according to the Torah. Rusty says, the fact you think life has any sort of plan for anyone is wild. He might mean retroactively, because you can see things, when you look back. Sennheiser says, everything that has happened and will is God's plan. Sure, Rusty says. If that makes you sleep better, then I won't argue. Speaking of sleep, maybe I will go to sleep. Yes, I think I will. It's 1 a.m. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes, so I still have the previous chat to continue with, and I have this chat to continue with, so hopefully I'll go live. I don't think I'll go live tomorrow before Shabbos. I might, who knows? Or maybe I'll go on Saturday night again. That was fun. I haven't done that before last week. I hadn't done that in, I don't know when I did. Okay, I think I will say goodnight from Jerusalem. This has been so much fun. I appreciate every single one of you out there. Those watching now, those watching later. The likes, the subs, the views, the the comments and the concerns, the rebukes, like I said. It's nice to have this exchange. I hope that I brought a little bit of value, even if like infinitesimal speck of value, or entertainment, if not value, cheap laughs, har har har. I really do hope. I hope I'll be able to get to this chat sooner or later. I appreciate you people. It's nice to have this here. I don't take it for granted. There's so many other things you could be doing right now, but you're me, and I, as I said before, appreciate your time and your kind attention. It's lovely to just do this. Let's have a good night. Be blessed. Be a blessing. I will see you in the next stream. In the next stream. Until then, let's have a wonderful Sabbath. A rest of relaxation, of truth and love and peace. A Shabbat of Torah and of prayer and of song and dance, of good food, good wine to those who partake, good challah, togetherness, and may we reach such a holy and sacred place that war and bloodshed will be lifted out of creation and we can come together as a unified human race in love and peace and brotherhood. Shabbat holds all of that. So let's make it happen. I will try to make it happen in my own stupid way. See this rant, this ramble? Oh, I'm tired. 1 a.m. Laila Tov. Laila Tov. Good night.